is likely to be, but I don't think anyone can say for sure. If we did, we'd go pick him up.
So what do you think about the recent good deed and trust between America and USA, the F-16 delivered to Pakistan to really add more quality to fight the terrorism against in their border area of Pakistan, which is, you know, the F-16 is known as a very good airplane?
Well, I think that the relationship between the U.S. and Pakistan is obviously central in the war on terror. We face a common threat and a common enemy. And the cooperation between our military and the Pakistani military, I think, has probably never been better. And this is going to be extraordinarily important. I know the importance, not only militarily but symbolically, of the F-16s for the Pakistani people and Pakistani government. I'm aware of the long history with the Pressler Amendment and also the strong feeling in Pakistan that our relationship has seen its ebbs and flows. It's been more of a transactional relationship than a long-term relationship based on mutual interest and goodwill. And I hope that has changed, and changed for the better, and changed for good. We ought to be partners. We should be partners indefinitely. We have a lot of the same interests, a lot of the same challenges and concerns. And I'm pleased to see the level of military cooperation improving all the time.
Pak-US relation, which direction is going now?
Well, I think it's moving in the right direction. You know, every relationship is going to have its bumps in the road. But as I mentioned, I think the level of cooperation now in the common fight against terror has never been better. That doesn't mean there's still not room for improvement. There is, and there are going to be frustrations both on the Pakistani side and on the U.S. side. But you know, I think it's important, you know, on the U.S. side, when there are things that we would like to see improved in the relationship, that we be mindful of the fact that the Pakistani people, both through the military, through the intelligence services, and civilians, have lost many more casualties in this war on terror in the last decade than I think the American people are aware of. I mean, there have been thousands of Pakistani troops killed. The fighting is very real. And I think that's very important for Americans to know. Pakistan is very much in this fight. I've been to Pakistan several times. I've been to Afghanistan several times. My most recent visit to Pakistan was only 6 or 8 weeks ago. I met with President Zardari, met with General Pasha and others. And there's no question that the Pakistani government is aware that these militants are a keen threat to the future of Pakistan. And President Zardari's comments to us, both at this visit and my last visit,
yes,
were, you know, this is our fight. This is our fight. And it's true. It's Pakistan's fight. It's also our fight. And I'm pleased that we are working more and more closely on it.
Do you think that United States of America is doing really enough as compared to what Pakistan lost, shattered the economy, damages infrastructures, loss of the life, losing the investment in Pakistan, people losing the hopes of living a better life? Do you think that America really doing enough for Pakistan? Because this is important, that America should gain the trust of the Pakistani people. I know that you have a trust of the military and the government, but the real truth is that you have to really gain the trust of the Pakistan. That will make the war going to be win. You have to have support. What the America doing for that?
Yeah, well, you know, that's a very important point, and I think you're exactly right. Historically, the relationship between the U.S. and Pakistan was a relationship between the U.S. and the Pakistani military, and at times between the U.S. and the Pakistani army. And that may have endeared the army to the U.S., but it didn't endear the Pakistani people. There is a real change underfoot to try to strengthen the people-to-people bond. About a year and a half ago, I was in Pakistan. I was in the northwest areas that were hit so hard by the earthquakes. I saw a beautiful new school that was built through the assistance of U.S. taxpayer funds. We have committed over $1 billion in economic support funds, ESF funds, to help provide energy, to keep the lights on in Pakistan, to help Pakistanis feed themselves, to help develop the government and democratic institutions. And some of this we're doing directly, some we're doing through NGOs. A lot of it we're doing through the Pakistani government. And this is kind of a mixed blessing, because we want to support the Pakistani government. We want the government to be able to provide the services to its own people. The government has to have the confidence of its own people. At the same time, what we do through the government is invisible
yes.
to the Pakistani people.
Yes.
They don't realize that a lot of the wherewithal to make these things happen, whether it's a new energy project, is coming from the United States. So we're trying in a number of different ways to improve the quality of life for people there, to win over the hearts and minds that are so essential. Otherwise, it's very hard for the government in Pakistan to take the steps it needs to deal with the militancy problem. Obviously, these large-scale military operations in South Waziristan, in the Swat Valley, have resulted in lots of displaced persons. We're trying to help with that, and we've already provided over $100 million to try to help with some of the resettlement and issues that has created. That support is going to be essential. There's still a remaining festering problem in North Waziristan, and the Pakistani people and the Pakistani government's going to need our continued support to dealing with that now kind of concentrated area of militancy.
Yeah, when you're talking about the winning the heart and mind of the Pakistani people, you know that there is a grant of the $1.5 billion a year aid to Pakistan, and I interviewed Mr. Joe Biden in Washington, D.C. He told that is unconditional support. Then he became a vice president, and things are changed. And now I heard that you're going to be one of the major pillar and the part of this $1.5 billion aid to Pakistan. The problem is, an issue is that Pakistani American community residing in America and the world over, and the Pakistani in Pakistan, they don't trust the government of Pakistan that aid will reach direct to the Pakistani NGOs and organizations, because it's never reached the 100%, maybe 10% and 15%. And it is not a mistake and fault of the United States of America. It's a fault how you distribute and how you guide and how you overlook and surveillance of this aid. So what are you doing for that? Are you involving the Pakistani NGOs in Pakistan or some American Pakistani business community which is resides all over America to help you out to really monitor this aid?
That's an excellent question, and the answer is yes. We're trying to do all of the above. I have been reaching out to the Pakistani diaspora. We have some very talented, bright, successful Pakistani diaspora in this country. They're a great resource. Many of them in touch with very successful NGOs who have good models that we should invest in. They're a brain trust that we want to tap, and I would love to work with you to identify leaders of the Pakistani diaspora around the country, invite them to come back to Washington, sit down with some of the legislative leadership, and get the thoughts of the diaspora on how to make our assistance most effective. We are making a determined effort in Pakistan to use Pakistani people and Pakistani NGOs to deliver the assistance. We have a problem with historically using too many American NGOs or European NGOs, and the assistance actually doesn't get to the Pakistani people. It either is eaten up by Beltway bandits or eaten up by international NGOs, and it doesn't put Pakistani people to work. Richard Holbrooke, Secretary Clinton are making a very determined effort to change that and meeting some resistance. But that is going to happen. That's going forward. We are also, working through the government and on some large infrastructure projects. And again, this gets back to wanting to help empower the government. It does pose the risk you say, which is, many of the diaspora pointed out, well, there's corruption in the government. And we don't want the money wasted, and we don't want the money wasted. So we're trying to put in place, mechanisms where we can have some confidence that the money is being well spent. And part of the delay in getting some of this money out, this over $1 billion out, has been we've wanted to have the personnel there to make sure the money is going where it's supposed to and being used as it's supposed to be used. And we've had trouble getting visas from the Pakistani government to bring in folks to review the books. And, I'm sure there is, some sentiment in Pakistan that, Pakistanis have trouble getting visas to come to the U.S.